Why is it that the big franchises like McDonald's, Starbucks, Subway, why is it they can crush their competition? How come the cards seem to be always stacked in their favor? The main reason is because they have leverage. When you have a lever, it only takes a fraction of the energy required under normal circumstances to accomplish a task. The longer the lever, the less energy required. These large businesses have such massive scale that they have tremendous leverage in squeezing the absolute lowest wholesale prices from their suppliers. Their scale also gives them group advertising power. Cost from dealing with government regulations is also scaled down tremendously, since it can be spread out over their entire franchise system instead of being borne by a single business owner. Infusion of capital by franchisees also allows them to perform ongoing research and product development. This is critical for keeping an edge over their competitors. Although there are many positives associated with franchising, there are potential negatives. So let's explore these so that you can be sure you're making the right decision to franchise your business. One of the potential negative consequences of having a franchise business is that you're dealing with independent franchise owners rather than company employees. The key word here is that these business owners will expect a certain degree of independence. If you're someone that wants to micromanage everything going on in all your franchise outlets, franchising might not be your best option for expanding your business. However, if your intention is to exert only enough control to ensure that your franchise product or service will be marketed to the consumer with the same quality that made you a success, then franchising might be a good option. Although some people would consider franchise owners exerting a certain amount of independence in their business operation a potential negative, I would counter it has its big pluses too. A franchisee has pride of ownership. They have invested a significant amount of money in their franchise. As a result, it's highly likely that they will be much more motivated than a typical company manager. They will also be much more concerned about controlling overhead costs and the profitability of their business. Some franchise owners fail because they don't have the necessary skill set or the personality to run a franchise operation. You may be an expert at selling your product or service, but fail miserably when running a franchise operation. A successful franchisor must be a good teacher and a constant mentor to his franchisees. Success in franchising also requires a franchise owner to treat his franchisees with respect and recognize them as independent business owners. Franchisees will become very dissatisfied if they feel stifled or over-controlled. Franchise owners also have to have a win-win mindset when dealing with their franchisees. Charging exorbitant royalties or outrageous prices for your product and services can quickly lead to disgruntled franchisees. Under these circumstances, they will often band together and withhold their royalty fees or consider buying their products or services from separate vendors. Usually this leads to expensive litigation and further bad blood between the parent company and the franchisees. There are a number of considerations that have to be taken into account before you pull the trigger on creating a franchise. The first item is to determine if your business will lend itself to expansion into a regional, national, or international market. To determine this, you need to thoroughly research the potential demand for your product or services in the areas you plan to expand into. Keep in mind that your unique product or service must not only be desired by potential customers, but also by people who would potentially buy a franchise. A demographic study of your existing customer base can also be used to establish potential territories that have a similar demographic mix that would lend itself to success for future franchisees. Another important item is to investigate your potential competition in the areas that you plan to expand into. If there are well-established competitors in a potential territory, it may be very difficult to establish a franchise in this area. One important prerequisite in establishing a franchise is having a registered trademark if it's a product or a service mark if it's a service. Trademarks and service marks establish your brand and your unique identity. They distinguish the products or services provided by your company from those provided by your competitors. A trademark can be a word, a name, a symbol, or a device, or a combination of any of these. It must be unique in order to be able to be registered at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Once your trademark or service mark is secured, it needs to be renewed every 10 years to maintain it. Another important step that should be accomplished before proceeding with a franchise is to create a thorough business plan. It is important to note that a franchise company is a completely separate entity from your existing business. There are costs that are unique to franchising, such as the costs associated with selling the franchises and the money required to train franchisees. Some of the other costs, such as salaries, rent, office equipment, travel expenses, car allowances, research costs, legal costs, accounting and advertising fees also need to be included in your business plan. In addition, the plan must present a realistic plan of expansion. In the financial section of your business plan, you will need to provide a timetable that describes the ramp-up of the overall financial outlays required to open the franchises described in your schedule. This section will also have to include a timetable description of the ramp-up in revenues that will occur as existing franchises mature and more franchises are added. The description of revenue growth should be described for each income source, such as initial franchise fees, royalties, training fees, and from sales of ingredients, products, or services. A description of the overall growth of revenue and net income over time also needs to be included. Another important element that needs to be addressed is training manuals and software for running the franchise. Oftentimes, this material can be obtained from modifying existing office manuals that describe the duties and operations of your business. If so, they will also need to be modified to include material that will guide the franchisee through the startup phase of their franchise outlet. Once you decide to franchise, you will be required by the Federal Trade Commission to create a franchise disclosure document, otherwise known as the Uniform Franchise Offering Circular, that describes your franchise offering. In addition, you will also have to produce a franchise agreement. Your franchise disclosure document and the franchise agreement should ideally be prepared by professionals that are experts in developing franchise businesses. When using professional franchise developers, be prepared to spend between $80,000 to $150,000 to set up your franchise. There are also companies that offer interactive software programs that can generate all the necessary documents for setting up the franchise business. Some of them also include on-site mentoring meetings with a specialized franchise lawyer and a consultation with an accountant. In addition, they offer unlimited phone support during the preparation of your franchise business. If costs are a major issue, another potential way to save money is to use an example of a franchise disclosure document and a franchise agreement and customize it to your business. When you do this, or if you use self-help software, think of your documents as being a first draft. Please don't try to do this all on your own. These documents should be reviewed by a professional. Franchise law has many nuances that can make your life sweet or living hell if not fully understood and implemented in these documents. If you are a successful business owner that is seriously considering creating a franchise business, I urge you to check out NewBusinessCreator.com. This website will give you much more information than what was covered in this presentation. It will also give you the tools and resources needed to create your franchise opportunity. When you're ready to start selling franchises, I would strongly recommend that you list your franchise business offering on NewBusinessMarket.com. There are thousands of potential franchisees looking for business opportunities on this website.